And just like Apple said, they weren't finished with their announcements because once again, yesterday we got another announcement. And also we had another announcement today. In this video, I'm going to talk about yesterday's latest product that Apple had recently announced, the M4 Mac Mini or M4 Pro Mac Mini as well. Yes, there's two of them. And let's just say out of all of the Macs that's come out, I think that this is the one that I've been most excited for. Honestly, I thought the M4 MacBook Pro was going to launch before the M4 Mac Minis, but Apple decided, nope, we're clearly going to prove you wrong, and we're going to launch the M4 Mac Mini before the M4 MacBook Pros. So, yep, that's going to be another video that might be coming out today. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Anywho, M4 Mac Mini. Cue the intro. So in case you didn't know, the Mac Mini has basically had pretty much the same form factor for how many years? 10, 12, 14? Anybody keep count? I haven't. Feels like it's basically been in the same exact shell forever. They did spice it up in 2018 by replacing the silver with a space gray version, and then when they did the Apple Silicon transition, they immediately went back to the silver Mac Mini design that we were very much familiar with. But obviously, I mean, especially when you consider where technology has gone today, the Mac Mini started to seem less and less mini until finally Apple has released their brand new redesigned Mac Mini with the M4 chip and such. They shrunk the form factor to something supposedly the size of an Apple TV. They haven't actually put it next to an Apple TV, so I don't really have anything to compare it with. It is definitely much smaller than the previous gen Mac Mini, which, oh, by the way, they decided to troll us with the unveiling of the Mac Mini in their video on YouTube today. They basically showed off the last gen and said, this is the all-new M4 Mac Mini, and it was the same exact shell as the previous gen. And then they're like, oh wait, no, that's not it. And then they just lifted the case off to reveal the actual Mac Mini. Funny detail, Apple, funny detail. Okay, so yeah, new shape, we get it. It's smaller, but there's many other things to talk about with this Mac that it's just, there's so many improvements around the board, and in reality, there's only one major complaint that I actually have with this machine, but we'll get to that at the end of the video. So taking a look at the rest of the design, we pretty much maintain the exact same power connector as before. A lot of rumors had speculated that they probably moved to like this MagSafe style connector like the iMac has, for example. Didn't get that type of power connector. Yep, we're still using the same one that we had with the previous gen Mac Mini. We also maintain both gigabit and 10 gigabit Ethernet options. An HDMI, is it a 2.1? I don't actually remember. I'll correct myself on screen. And then we also got rid of USB-A, so I hope you didn't need USB-A anymore. Oh wait, we should be moving away from USB-A in general, so no more USB-A ports. Instead, they were replaced by 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports on the M4 Mac Mini, on the back at least. There's also a couple standard USB-Cs on the front. I don't think those are Thunderbolt ports on the front, by the way. Just letting you know, I think the 2 USB-C ports on the front, which, oh yeah, that in itself is another feature that we gained. Front I/O, that is so nice. It is so nice to actually be able to plug your drive in without having to figure out where there's a port in your mess of wires on the back. So yeah, frontal I/O is really appreciated, but that front I/O is not Thunderbolt, which I don't think it needs to be. It just needs to be fast enough for like USB 10 gig or something like that. But the 3 ports on the back are Thunderbolt ports, and if you happen to get the M4 Pro variant, apparently the Pro chip actually has Thunderbolt 5 ports. So we're finally moving away from Thunderbolt 4 to Thunderbolt 5. I didn't even know Thunderbolt 5 was a thing until today, actually. Shows how much I follow the tech space nowadays. And then, oh yeah, also on the front, the headphone jack moved to the front, which is a much more convenient location if you're trying to plug in headphones, which, let's be real, guys, a lot of professional users still actually use the headphone jack on their Macs, so it doesn't make sense to get rid of it. That's why our iMacs still have it, despite that it's in a really bad position, in my opinion. And that's why our MacBooks still have it, and that's why the Mac Mini has it, and the Mac Studio. Yeah, you get the point. There's a reason why the headphone jack hasn't died on the Mac yet. It's because pro users actually do kind of need that. And then, of course, we get the M4's crazy performance like in the M4 iMac, and the M4 Pro also builds on top of that even more. And other things that carry over, M4 gets a standard 16 gigabytes of RAM, just like the M4 iMac, because now we need to make sure that we have enough memory available for Apple BS. And the M4 Pro Mac Mini, I believe the M4 Pro has a standard what is it, 24 gigabytes of RAM, ready and available for Apple BS features and various other memory tasks and such. Obviously, the chips are faster than the previous gen of Apple Silicon M series chips, so I mean, I'm not entirely sure what else I'm supposed to describe about that other than, yeah, okay, cool, new chips and such. To me, just the coolest part is the fact that the Mac Mini finally got a redesign. But now, after pretty much covering all of that, there's one thing about it that I kind of have a complaint about. In my last video, I was discussing how the Magic accessories finally got USB-C, and I was talking about how, yes, the Magic Mouse still has its charging port on the bottom of the mouse instead of anywhere else. In the last video, I had mentioned that it really is not an issue because pretty much before the mouse is about to die, it pings your Mac, it gives you a notification saying, hey, your mouse is at 2%, which is plenty of battery to get you through the rest of the day. So that way, once you're done with the Mac, you just plug it in and you're all set for another 6 to 8 weeks the next morning. So yeah, bottom charge port, not that big of a deal. However, the reason why I'm bringing this up right now actually is because not only did they move some ports around to various other parts of the device, they also moved the power button to the bottom.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Okay, this I'm actually trying to understand. Okay, I understand why some people are frustrated with the charge port being located on the bottom of this. To me, it's just a compromise you need to make in order to get the trackpad experience that you get with this mouse. Okay, it's a compromise that I'm willing to accept and such. That's why I really don't think a bottom charge port is that big of a deal. However, now, I understand that some people are probably going to have the same mentality when it comes to me and this, but I really do not like the idea of the power button being underneath the computer. Why is this? For one, I'm not entirely sure how they're going to design mounts for these things, but typically, at least from what I've learned of the previous Mac Mini, the mounts have basically designed it so that way the bottom is enclosed or up against a wall or up against whatever you're mounting the computer to. So that way the Apple logo is standing out proud, so that way everybody knows this is a Mac. I'm a bit worried that these mount makers are going to end up doing the exact same thing where, again, the bottom of the machine is up against whatever surface you're mounting it to, meaning the power button is going to be slightly more difficult to access. Now, I know some people are going to say, dude, when do you ever turn off the machine? When do you ever fully shut down the computer? Because for the most part, what everybody does nowadays is we just let our computers go into sleep mode. Well, I don't know about you guys, but electricity is a little expensive around where I live. No, it's not California PG&E prices, but 26 cents per kilowatt hour is still not a cheap rate. And as a result, I often like to just turn my computers off so that way I can minimize the energy usage. That, and also, it is actually a good thing every now and again to actually let your electronics rest, as in completely turn them off and not just have them in sleep mode. And so, actually, yeah, I do turn my computers off very frequently. In fact, when I'm done with my complicated desk setups and all that, I turn off each individual monitors, I turn off the Thunderbolt dock, and I shut down the Mac. Yeah, I actually turn my machines off all the time. So the fact that Apple has decided to move the power button to the bottom where, I mean, especially if I were to get a Mac Mini, the reason why I want a Mac Mini is for my music set, and it's because there's not really a good place to just set my laptop. Though I thought, hey, if I get a Mac Mini, I could mount it somewhere. But what I'm worried is if I do mount it somewhere, is that power button going to be covered up? And is that going to cause me any pain points when I try to turn the thing on after shutting it down? It's annoying. Yeah, I do understand that people have an issue with the charge port being at the bottom, which means, yes, you can't use your mouse. It's a compromise so you get a proper trackpad on top of a mouse experience. I've tried other mice that have used trackpads for your scrolling and such. Literally, none of them get it anywhere near as good as this. And if that involves sacrificing a good location for the the charge port, then fine, I'll deal with it at the bottom. In reality, it really is a non-issue. However, if I happen to struggle to turn the computer on simply because the power button is inaccessible and now I have to go into my mounting setup and unmount my computer just so I can push the power button. Oh, just, you know, power outages are a thing. I've heard depending on the duration of the power outage, sometimes your Mac will just automatically restart. When you get a power outage long enough though, there does come a point where no, the Mac does not automatically just turn back on and you do need to manually turn it back on, which means you then have to go back into your mounting setup and then push that power button because it's underneath. It's annoying. Now, I don't know exactly what mounting companies are going to do when they make their mounts to mount this Mac Mini to whatever surface you're trying to mount it to. Wow, that's a very big tongue twister. I don't know what they're going to do, but if I had to guess, they're probably going to do something very similar to what they did last time. So that way the Apple logo is proudly on display because, well, I mean, I guess you can't own an Apple product without being smug about it, I guess. Yeah, that's a design flaw that I really am not a fan of. I was really impressed that they decided, you know what, let's bring some I/O to the front of the device. That is a good thing, but why didn't they also bring the power button there? Why didn't they just also put the power button on the front of the machine? It makes so much sense. Who thought it was a good idea to put the power button in the worst position possible? Somebody at Apple was not using 2 brain cells. So yeah, rant aside on that, that is literally my only gripe with the machine. I am very pleased to say that it still starts at $600, and if you could take advantage of an education discount, then it can be $500. Yeah, that's a pretty affordable Mac. Everyone likes to say Macs are too freaking expensive. Well, a $600 Mac and with the performance of M4, wow, it packs a punch, especially compared to the PC competition in its price bracket. If you want M4 Pro, that is going to be a hefty price increase all the way up to $1,400. So just be advised about that. But I would assume that the only reason you get the M4 Pro is because you're actually planning on taking full advantage of what that thing actually has. Like you're doing hardcore video editing or music production, or you're doing a lot of hardcore stuff, even though if I'm being honest, M4 base by itself is kind of hardcore enough in my opinion. So yeah, be advised, when you do upgrade to M4 Pro, you're going to be paying a premium for it. I recommend just going with the base M4 and speccing your storage accordingly because 16 gigs of RAM, honestly, it's plenty. And I have a pretty darn good feeling you will not be using any of those Apple BS features that they keep pushing on us so hard. I am a big fan of this redesign, minus the power button placement. Somebody wasn't thinking there. What are your guys' thoughts on the new M4 Mac Mini? Feel free to let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Thank you for watching. Do me a favor and interact with stuff below. My name is DeWolf. Random Alpha, signing out.